Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. This is going to be a short Sunday morning chat. I got a thumping headache, I'm bunged up, and my throat feels like it's got sand in it. I'm not ill, it's a cold. It's an inconvenience, it's not an illness. You just have to get on with life, even though it makes you feel grumpy. Talking of feeling grumpy, YouTube's a community, we all agree, yeah? And there's lots of good words said to and about other people, and that's what makes it good. Yeah, it's not just making your videos, sticking them up, you know, rushing down the next day to see how many people have watched it. And while we're on the subject of watching other people's videos, that annoying advert is back again. It's over 4 minutes long and it's about an electric lawnmower. Yeah, well, lots of people don't have a lawn. There is certainly no obligation about watching adverts like that are just too long. And the problem is it's nearly always the first one of two. So you don't even get the chance to watch the second one, which you might want to do to help support the channel. But, you know, you've got to wait over 4 minutes to get to the next one to see if it's another flipping 4-minute one. So you end up doing like I did this morning twice and skipping out. And then you feel a little bit, not guilty, but you just sort of feel, well, that was my opportunity to support that channel and I haven't done it. But there are limits to watching those adverts. I've always said 30 seconds is okay, less is better. The shorter they are, the better. But unfortunately some of the advertisers just don't get the point. They just don't get the fact that the longer their adverts are, the less people are going to watch them. Still, they pay to put them there, and anybody that watches them helps support the channel of the video that you watch the adverts on. So that's how it works. And something else I've recently discovered, there's a forgotten few, and they are relatively low in numbers, and I don't know anything about how this works, but you can pay YouTube for a premium membership, which means you get to watch videos without the adverts. You imagine if you could switch the adverts off on your TV programs. You'd probably do it, wouldn't you? Anyway, I don't know anything about how that works, but I have noticed that when I get to my, you know, month end and YouTube adds up how much I've sort of got from my monetization, the amount I actually get seems more. And I've wondered where it has come from, and I've finally worked it out. When somebody pays to be a premium member, their contribution into the YouTube pot of gold, the mountain of gold, gets shared around the people. Yeah, so, you know, the creators do actually get some of that money. How the hell they work out how much, I really don't know. And I don't really need to know or even want to know. Oh dear. Anyway, sure sign of winter this morning. That was clean water in the Vander bucket, so I needed to mix up some feed. So I put some feed in there and put my hand in there to stir it and promptly drew it out. Flipping water was freezing. And it did dawn on me this morning that was a cold night last night. First one I would say we've had. It wasn't a frost or anything, but it was low, and it was low all night. So from the point it got dark and the temperature dropped down, it stayed low all night long. And as a consequence, when I got up this morning and dragged my sorry whatnot out of bed, the house was cold. I thought, oh God, don't say the heating's gone wrong. The heating was on, but the heating is trying to heat the house, and because my door behind me was wide open, a lot of that heat's drifting out into here, which is why I do it. That's how it works. But it's getting to the point now where me being warm in the morning is more important as we get these colder nights. So soon, probably within the next couple of days, I'm going to have to get the heater down. Because what happens then is when I go to bed, I shut the door behind me and let the little heater out here do its job. And that way, that little heater's only working on this space. It's not trying to heat, you know, if I left the door open with the heater on out here, that little heater would be trying to heat the house as well, and that ain't going to work. But it means that the house doesn't cool down overnight anywhere near as much, which means the heating hasn't got so much to do in the morning. So it, although I spend more out here because I've got an electric heater, I spend a lot less trying to keep the flipping house warm, and me. Yeah. Anyway, what I was going to say is things go wrong with people. Yeah, you know, you can break a leg, break a finger, get in a fight and break your nose, or have your nose broken. All sorts of things can go physically wrong. And as we get older, mobility things may start to kick in, aches and moans and groans and creaks and, you know, bend down and can't get up again, all that sort of stuff. And I shouldn't laugh, but there's one thing when it goes wrong just ain't that easy to fix, and it's our mind. And when things start going wrong upstairs, it ain't so easy to fix. And then you stop and think, you know, lots of people are couples or have a close family environment. You always got people to talk to and mull things over with and get some other ideas as to what might help. But there's a lot of people, especially that get older, that live on their own. Who do they talk to? Where do they get their comfort from? And quite honestly, you're watching it now. YouTube can be a real benefit for people that are feeling down, feeling low. You can watch other people's videos, have a read of the chats in the comments, do your own video, join in conversations. And it's a feeling that's strange, because although you are still alone, you don't feel like it anymore. It feels like you've got people to talk to, people that you can tell your problems to within reason. And, you know, it's a comfort. And for that, it has just got to be well worth doing. I mean, I live on my own, and that's by choice. A lot of people are left on their own for one reason or another. And that can be quite debilitating. You know, if you think, if you've spent your whole life with a partner and for some reason they're not there anymore, that's a shock to the whole system, and it's a mind thing. And it's a mindset that's often difficult to get over, or overcome, shall we say. And some people never do. It's quite easy to say that some people would never be the same under those circumstances, and they're not. Where there was two, there's now one. It's not the same, and it never will be. I mean, I live on my own by choice, and quite honestly, I love it. It's been a long time now. I've forgotten what it's like to have somebody else lurking around the house, getting in my way, getting under my feet, keep interfering with what I want to do. You can see my point of view straight away, can't you? But for some people, it's not their choice. It's happened for one reason or another, and it's not necessarily their choice. So spare some thoughts for those with the problems of the mind, because they're not necessarily easily fixed. Now, I felt a bit low this morning, mainly because I got a stinking cold. It's a British disease called a stinking cold. That's its technical name. You can look it up in medical dictionaries. It's called a stinking cold. And it can make you feel a bit depressed, and it makes you feel like you don't want to do anything when you know there's things you've got to do. And that can affect your mind as well, because you sit there thinking, I really ought to get on with this or that or the other, and you can't be bothered. You just don't feel like it. Well, leave it. Leave it till tomorrow. The world won't end. There is a world I wouldn't mind ending. It lives in a big shiny old building in London. I'd like to see that world end. Bunch of jokers. I watched a bit of that yesterday, and I thought, I'll bet you people can't even make your mind up whether you need to go to the toilet or not. You're so useless. Anyway, to make me feel a bit better, I found an old box, and I wrapped something up and put a label on it, and tomorrow I'll give it to Post and Pat, and that goes off to somebody else, and that hopefully will make them feel better or pleased. And it made me feel better, because I'm giving something back. That's good stuff. Anyway, I'm not doing plants today. It's just the thought about, you know, the YouTube community is there to be used. Now, some people merely watch. and don't leave comments. That's fine. You're under no obligation to ever leave a comment. And I don't need a fan in my ear, I'll get off. But nonetheless, they're still part of the community. They're still joining in. You might not physically see them joining in, but they're there. You know, it's part of... I mean, if you think somebody with 100,000 subscribers puts a video up, they're going to get some views. They're probably going to get a lot more than me. And I'll put a video up and I get some views. I might only get 10 comments, but I might have 1,000 views. Well, that's 990 people that have watched the video that I may never know, but they're there. There's a feeling of comfort that when you speak, when you show your orchids, there are people interested in it. And the orchid community, in my opinion, around the world is getting bigger. It's growing. And I think a lot of that is the availability of the mass-produced orchids. You don't necessarily have to go to specialist orchid nurseries and take a bank loan to buy one plant. You can pick them up at the garden centre or in your local supermarket and things. The orchids are there. And I think, well, I mean, in the UK now, the Phalaenopsis orchid is now the single most popular houseplant. It's taken over from the likes of rubber plants and cheese plants and spider plants and African violets. The Phalaenopsis orchid is now the most popular houseplant. So there's people out there that are not orchid growers and probably know little or nothing about orchids, but they've still got some. Yeah? And then they might get the bug and suddenly think, actually I could do with knowing a bit more about these. That's the second one that's died this year. And then they look for information. And there they are. They're caught. They're in there. They're joining in. Finding that there's a wealth of information around and loads of people only willing to help. So it's a community. That's what it's all about. And for me, when I found it, I was a watcher. And then I was a commenter. And then eventually I plucked up enough courage and became a creator. So just had a look at my first ever video. It was just to look round some orchids with a little bit of music. And I still can't remember ever doing it, quite honestly. But, you know, that was nearly 4 years ago. So, you know, I've been around a while. I'm not going anywhere. As long as I am physically capable of doing this, I'll carry on doing it because I enjoy it. And I still believe that all the people that create and produce the videos and get that community together are actually providing a service. Now, I still think there's some of them out there doing it for money, and that's their main interest. Now, I get some, it's not a lot. Certainly not going to buy a yacht and cruise around the Mediterranean on my YouTube money, you know. I might have a pizza one day, but yeah, so it's a community, and the more the people join in and take part, the better and bigger the community gets, and it's brilliant. So, yeah. And also, you can do your bit. You know, when somebody's a bit depressed or, you know, is having health issues or something like that, just put a comment in. Hope you get better soon. Hope you're feeling better soon. Anything. It cheers people up. And it costs nothing. It's effortless to write one sentence. Providing you can think of the words, of course. Sometimes that's difficult. I've had times where people have poured their emotions out on YouTube and I can't think of words to say. It's difficult sometimes to even do words of comfort. So try. It's worth the effort. And yeah, so I'm going to leave it at that today before I wear my throat out and then it won't work tomorrow. So rest day for me today. All I've got of water is my Vandas, and have you ever seen people go down on the beach and they walk down to the sea and put their toe in and quickly withdraw it and back away? Yeah, well, that's what my Vandas would have done if I'd put the roots in that water. That water was freezing this morning. So we're now back into warming the water up before we can use it. Now, my general watering water comes from the house. It's inside the house. And I always lean some of the containers this time of year against the bottom of the radiator. So it's always at a nice, you know, reasonable temperature. It's not freezing cold, but that lives out here. So all I do is I get 2 of my containers, fill them up with hot water out the tap. You know, I don't boil kettles or anything. I just fill them up with hot water out the tap and put them in there, swirl them around a couple of times, and 10-15 minutes later the water's up to a sensible temperature. And then I can water my Vandas, which I'm now going to do. So see you next time. And I'll try and croak something together tomorrow. Bye for now.